our homes, and they deserve our support and respect. They are the best of us, and I want to promise you, as a chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America, a President Donald Trump will support our law enforcement officers at every level. We will see to it that they have the resources and the tools to do their job, to keep our families safe and come home safe to theirs. And Donald Trump will restore law and order to every city and every community and every state in this nation. That's probably why this last week Donald Trump was endorsed by the largest police officers union in the United States of America. 330,000 officers strong endorsed, the FOP endorsed Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. You know, it really is remarkable when you think about this election now. The very moment that America is crying out for something different and new, the other party has answered with a stale agenda, the most predictable of names and predictable of messages. You know, people in both parties are restless for change, ready to break free from the old patterns in Washington, D.C. But the truth is, the other party actually nominated someone who represents everything this country is tired of. So, Colorado, I'm just asking you, right now, here today, I need you to decide that you will not rest, you will not relent until Colorado does its part to make sure that Hillary Clinton is never elected president of the United States of America. On one issue after another, the stakes are so high and the choice could not be more clear. Let me touch on a few of them before I slide off and take your questions and hear what's on your mind. To me, this election comes down to security and prosperity. It comes down to the highest court in the land and ensuring the highest standard of integrity in the highest office in the nation. Now, it really is remarkable. We just, in the midst of the heartbreaking headlines this week in American cities, we're still reeling, aren't we, from the news of terrorist attacks that took place this weekend in New Jersey, in New York, and in Minnesota. It truly is a miracle. It truly is a miracle that there was no loss of life as a knife-wielding terrorist injured 9 Americans in a mall in Minnesota, and a terrorist in New Jersey planted pipe bombs in multiple locations. You know, we just took a stand for them a minute ago, but there's a lot of law enforcement in the room here today. They're capturing that terrorist in just 24 hours, and the police officer off duty who was armed and took down that terrorist in Minnesota deserve our thanks. Would you mind thanking all the law enforcement officers one more time who are here with us today? We can be proud. We can be proud of the job that they did and that they do every day. That was fine police work, and it saved lives. And every American should be proud. But sadly, it's part of a widening reality under this administration and under the leadership that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have brought to the world stage. You know, there's a saying that weakness arouses evil. Donald Trump and I believe that the weak and feckless foreign policy of this administration, led in the first term by Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, has weakened America's place in the world and emboldened our enemies. I mean, whether it was moving red lines in Syria, whether it was feigning a reset with Russia, whether it was a precipitous withdrawal of all American forces from Iraq that allowed ISIS to literally rise up, conjured up out of the desert sands to overrun those hard-fought and hard-won areas in Iraq. Or whether it was an American foreign policy that actually boasted of, quote, leading from behind. I truly do believe that the policies of this administration have made America less safe and the world less secure. We live in a time of a widening fight, of an enemy in radical Islamic terrorism, an enemy in an ISIS caliphate that brought violence not just to New Jersey and Minnesota, where it inspired terrorist attacks, but we think of Orlando and San Bernardino and Chattanooga and the Boston Marathon and Fort Hood. Now, this White House press secretary just the other day actually said that we were in a, quote, narrative fight. Did you see that? We were in a narrative battle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump and I know we're not in a narrative anything. We are in a battle against radical Islamic terrorism and the ISIS caliphate, and we need a president of the United States who is willing to take the fight to the enemy. Now, Hillary Clinton says that my running mate's rhetoric, quote, gives comfort to our adversaries. She actually said that the other day. Well, Hillary, strength does not give comfort to one's adversaries. Weakness does. And that will end the day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, because he will lead on the world stage with American strength. He will stand with our allies and stand up to our enemies. And America and the world will be safer as a result. Maybe that's why so far more than 160 retired admirals and generals, including 17 Medal of Honor winners, have endorsed Donald Trump to be the next commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States. You know, they got a debate next week, and I expect national security will be on the docket, right? And I have to tell you, we know what kind of commander-in-chief Hillary Clinton would be. You remember about 8 years ago, she had some TV commercial where she talked about when she was running against President Obama. She said, you want to make sure when that phone call comes in the middle of the night, the right person be there to answer it. Well, thanks, folks, we really, we got a lot of rhetoric out there. A lot of Hillary Clinton's allies have been pretty critical of the commander-in-chief that my running mate will make. You know, the truth of the matter is that we don't have to speculate about Hillary Clinton because the call came. It happened 4 years ago. It's on the anniversary of 9/11. The call came. It was Hillary Clinton and her State Department that learned of a terrorist attack on the anniversary of 9/11 at a State Department facility in Benghazi and never sent any help at all. 4 Americans fell. It was Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, who went out before the national media and even to the parents of the fallen and told them it was a result of some video that had been created. And then, when a congressional investigation found otherwise, found that they all knew it was the words that she used in an email to her daughter was an Al-Qaeda-style terrorist attack. She told a Senate committee, quote, what difference at this point does it make? Well, men and women of Colorado, as the proud father of a United States Marine. Thank you. As a proud father of a United States Marine, let me just say from my heart, anybody who said that, anybody who did that, should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. When Donald Trump becomes President of the United States, We won't have 4 more years apologizing to our enemies and abandoning our friends. Donald Trump and I will rebuild our military. We will restore the arsenal of democracy. We will stand up for our soldiers in the field at home. We will stand with our veterans as they retire and stand with us, and we will hunt down and destroy ISIS and those organizations that threaten our people. We'll make America safe again. But this isn't just about security at home and abroad. This election, men and women here in Colorado, is also about prosperity, or the lack thereof. And I have to tell you, back in the Hoosier State, we've made a little bit of progress the last 4 years. But it's been in spite of what this administration's been doing, not because of it. We're in the midst of the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. We have the lowest labor participation rate in America than any time since the 1970s. And sadly, there are some 7 million more Americans living in poverty today than the day that Barack Obama became president of the United States. 7 million. Now, Hillary Clinton's plan? More of the same. More taxes, more regulation, more Obamacare, more of the war on energy that's been stifling America's economy. If you didn't hear about it yet, Hillary Clinton, apparently her plan didn't have enough tax increases. She announced today she actually wants to raise the death tax even higher. I mean, it really is remarkable. I mean, Hillary Clinton and her supporters tell us this economy is the best that we can do. That things are really good out there, right? It's just going to take time. Well, we know this economy is nowhere near the best that we can do. It's just the best that they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we're going to get the people of Colorado back to work. We're going to get this economy moving for every American with the time-honored principles that have always worked. Donald Trump has a plan to reignite the American economy the way that Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s, and frankly, the way that President John F. Kennedy did back in the 1960s. It all begins with letting people keep more of what they earn. Donald Trump and I are going to lower marginal tax rates on working families, small businesses, family farms, and ranchers. We're going to get rid of the death tax once and for all, and we're going to lower business taxes so companies here in Colorado can compete with companies around the world and keep and create jobs right here. And Donald Trump and I know that regulation is a form of taxation that's stifling growth. So on the first day of our administration, he's going to sign a moratorium on any new federal red tape. And Donald Trump will repeal every single executive order that Barack Obama signed into law that's stifling growth and jobs in the American economy. And while Hillary Clinton thinks Obamacare is just a good start, you even got some of her supporters on Capitol Hill that are talking about bringing single-payer medicine all the way into it. Did you hear some of that talk this week? Well, let me tell you something. We're going to work with your representatives from Colorado and Washington, D.C. I guarantee you, we're going to repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel, and we're going to free up our health care economy in a way that lowers the cost of health insurance. Here in Colorado, you just got word, according to the Denver Post, that health insurance rates are going to jump 20% on average for individuals in 2017. I mean, the truth of the matter is, when they sold Obamacare on Capitol Hill, I was in there fighting it every step of the way. The whole goal of Obamacare was to lower the cost of health insurance. And at the end of the day, all they did was grow the size of government and actually got the opposite. Well, that's all going to change. The other thing we're going to do to get this economy moving again, as Donald Trump and I know, after he becomes negotiator-in-chief, we're going to have trade deals in this country that put America first. We're going to have trade deals that work for the American worker. We're going to renegotiate NAFTA to make sure that it works for the American economy and for American jobs. We're going to get out of TPP, and we're going to make sure that our trading partners are held accountable for the commitment that they make to the people of the United States of America. And lastly, I promise you on day one of the Trump administration, the war on American energy will come to an end. The war on coal is over. We're going to develop the resources of this land, coal and oil and natural gas, wind and solar and nuclear. We're going to promote conservation, and we're going to turn loose the American economy with low-cost energy. It's all the stuff that's always worked. And it'll work again. Now, Hillary Clinton thinks that those that think that this will get this economy out of the ditch that we're in, and we're in a ditch, men and women. I mean, the last quarter in this economy, the American economy only grew by 1%. It's incredible. Well, economists are now projecting that this will get our economy back to that 3 and 4% growth rate, or if you ask Donald Trump, he'll tell you even more. Now, Hillary Clinton thinks that's, quote, wildly unrealistic. To think if you let the American people keep more of what they earn, if you develop more American energy, if you had smarter trade deals and you rolled back red tape, that the economy come roaring back. Well, Donald Trump and I know the only thing that's wildly unrealistic is electing the same people with the same bad ideas and expecting a different result. When Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to change the direction of economic policy in America, and the American people are going to start to win again from day one. There's one more really big issue that we got to talk about. And then I'll get to your questions. You know, it seems when you think about this present administration and Hillary Clinton's plan to essentially run for a third term of the Obama administration, it seems like there's no aspect of our lives too small for these people to supervise. There's no provision of the Constitution too large for them to ignore, right? I mean, elect Hillary Clinton as President of the United States. You better get more used to unelected judges using unaccountable power to make more unconstitutional decisions. You know, we're electing a president for the next 4 years, but that president's probably going to set the course and direction of the Supreme Court of the United States for the next 40 years. You better think about that real hard, Colorado. If you cherish our Constitution, if you cherish the freedoms enshrined in our First Amendment, if you cherish our Second Amendment right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, if you cherish all the God-given liberties that are enshrined in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, I would say for the sake of the rule of law, for the sake of our Constitution, for the sake of all of those liberties, we have to decide that the next president who will make appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States of America will be President Donald Trump. It's got to happen. Now, time does not permit, and the time that we have for me to go into the last thing, but it bears mentioning nonetheless. You know, it didn't take me too long in this campaign once I joined the team to figure out, you know, the media spends more time talking about what Donald Trump said in the last 30 minutes than they do talking about what the Clintons have been up to for the last 30 years. You ever notice that? I mean, the truth of the matter is that we have probably the most bold truth teller ever to run for president of the United States, running against the most dishonest person ever to seek the presidency in our history. It pains me to say it, but it's true. I mean, literally one story after another. I mean, emails that were not disclosed now coming to light, actually, that during her tenure as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton and her husband ran the Clinton Foundation, and they accepted tens of millions of dollars from foreign donors and foreign governments, and then turned around and half of the private meetings that she gave while she was Secretary of State for 4 years were with major donors to the Clinton Foundation. Her husband was on some TV show the other day, and he acknowledged that they were probably giving money to the Clinton Foundation to curry a little bit of favor, but he was pretty sure the State Department wasn't going to do anything wrong. That's what he said, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Now, they have said that if she becomes president of the United States of America, they won't take foreign donations to the Clinton Foundation anymore. Well, men and women, you got to remember, foreign countries and foreign citizens cannot participate in American politics. If it was a conflict of interest when she becomes president of the United States, it was a conflict of interest when she was Secretary of State. We've got to make sure people understand this. You know, the American people are sick and tired. They're sick and tired of pay-to-play politics in all of its forms. We've got to have the highest standards of integrity in the highest office in the land. So let me make you a promise. The day of pay-to-play politics for the favored few is over. The day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, his only special interest in the Oval Office is going to be you, the people of this country. And he's going to fight for you every single day that we're in the White House. You know, let me close just with a thought about this campaign. Because I hope you came here today not just to warm up a little bit. I hope you came here today to leave with a little bit of a burden on your heart. And that is, I need you to go here today and tell somebody. I mean, when we talk about the choice in this election, it's about security, it's about prosperity, it's about the Supreme Court of the United States, and it's about having the highest standards of integrity in the highest office in the land. But it's not just about the choice that we have, which couldn't be more dramatic. I hope you all also know that in Donald Trump and I, you have two people that will always believe in these challenging times. Will always believe that there will always be more in this country that unites us than will ever divide the people of the United States of America. And Donald Trump and I know that. And it really all comes down to faith. It comes down to our faith in God and faith in the American people and faith in the American dream. It does. I mean, I love to tell people, when they chose me for the ticket, I said to people, Donald Trump is a charismatic personality, bigger than life, so they obviously wanted to balance the ticket. But the truth of the matter is, that as I got to know this good man, I found out some things we had in common. His grandfather immigrated to this country. My grandfather immigrated to this country from Ireland. His father was a self-made man who built a business with his own hands. My father married that Irishman's daughter, took her down to southern Indiana, ran a gas station business, built it up. We were both raised to believe that to whom much is given, much will be required. And so for Donald Trump, that meant the kid from Queens went over to Manhattan Island and decided to build the biggest buildings in the world, right? For me, it was a calling into public service. I mean, I love to tell people, other than a whole lot of zeros, Donald Trump and I have an awful lot in common. And I mean a lot. A lot of zeros. And I think it ultimately comes down to faith. We were both raised with a foundation of faith in our life. Both raised with a faith in the American dream, not because we heard about it, but because we lived it. I mean, that Irishman, I was actually named after my grandfather. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters, but Grandpa used to tell me I was the only Irishman in the family. But I can't imagine what he's thinking looking down today. But the truth is, I lived the American dream, and so did Donald Trump. And the passion that you hear in him as he canvasses all across this country, as tens of thousands of Americans come out, as you all kindly come out to hear his running mate today. It's a passion for the American dream. And I promise you, Donald Trump and I are going to work every day to revive the American dream for everyone in this country, regardless of race or creed or color or gender. We're going to bring it all back to a boundless American future, driven by the strength and the ingenuity and the vitality of the American people. And it's also about the other kind of faith. It's faith that we can repair to in these challenging days. I just came from a group down the road of pastors, and I told them this: in these times when so many seek to divide so quickly, and when tragedy happens, people look to the politics of division. I think it's important for us to remember that the faith that binds this country still binds us. And that if we'll humble ourselves and pray, He'll hear from heaven, He'll heal our land, and we will be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we got our work cut out for us, folks. But I do want to challenge you before I step to the side here. I just want you to go tell somebody. I mean, the truth of the matter is, you know, these days, sometimes I got to get up in the morning and turn on the television with a stick. Thanks for getting that joke. I mean, I just never know what's going to be on there. I mean, it's like 2-on-1 on this deal with the media doing half of Hillary's work for her every single day of the week. But the amazing thing is, Donald Trump is still winning more hearts and minds every day. And it's because the American people. It's because the American people are talking to each other. Because we're not listening to all the talking heads on the TV, all the front page newspaper articles that say one thing and another. We're talking to each other. We're listening to this good man, and we're talking to our neighbors and friends. So that's my challenge to all of you is go tell somebody. Leave here today and find a neighbor across a backyard fence, somebody at worship or at work. Stop somebody outside the drugstore and just tell them. Tell them why you got that sign in your yard. Tell them the stakes in this election. Because I truly do believe if all of us do all that we can for the days that remain in this campaign, we will elect Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States. And we will make America great again. So let's go do it. All of us, okay? Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks so much for coming out. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. But I do think there's value in paying more careful attention to what we already know, as the old saying goes. So thanks for hearing me out. Now, I'd like to slide to your questions. Slide your hand into the air, and I'd love to have a chance to be able to take a question. Where's our microphone person? Here he comes. He's dashing down. We'll go right here. Right here, son. Hi.
Recently it was announced that Donald Trump has chosen Dr. Bill Evers as his education transition team because he stands against Common Core and wants to make sure that our children learn about the Constitution. Can you address that?
I can. Tell me your first name.
Peggy Littleton.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you so much. Well, let me be very clear with you. Donald Trump and I believe that education is a state and local function that should be controlled by parents and teachers and administrators at the state level and at the local level, and we're going to fight for that every day.